In 1942, Margaret Wise Brown published what would quickly become a generational classic children's book called The Runaway Bunny. The story is about a lovingly steadfast mother who reassures her child at every turn that she'll never be far away from him. It begins. Once there was a little bunny who wanted to run away. So he said to his mother, "I am running away." "If you run away," said his mother, "I will run after you, for you are my little bunny." "If you run after me," said the little bunny, "I will become a fish in a trout stream, and I will swim away from you." "If you become a fish in a trout stream," said his mother, "I will become a fisherman, and I will fish for you." "If you become a fisherman," said the little bunny, "I will become a rock on the mountain high above you." "If you become a rock on the mountain high above me," said his mother, "I will be a mountain climber, and I will climb to where you are." The little bunny continues on, going through a series of ways to evade his mother in this imaginary game of hide and seek. Each time, she responds with a gentle, simple statement, showing him that he will never be far removed from her loving protection. The book concludes with the little bunny saying, "I will join a circus and fly away on a flying trapeze." "If you go flying on a flying trapeze," said his mother, "I will be a tightrope walker, and I will walk across the air to you." "If you become a tightrope walker and walk across the air," said the bunny, "I will become a little boy and run into a house." "If you become a little boy and run into a house," said the mother bunny, "I will become your mother and catch you in my arms and hug you." The dust jacket of the book states that children will be profoundly comforted by the book's message, a universally appreciated message of maternal love and protection. One can easily imagine this playful conversation happening between a mother and child across countless cultures and in countless languages and in all time periods. We can imagine Jesus as a 5-year-old engaging his mother Mary in a similar way. And we can imagine her giving the same gentle, loving responses to his playful imagination. In reality, we know that from the moment she first held him in her arms and soothed him in the manger, Mary stayed with her son and was there to experience every challenge and triumph in his earthly life. We can almost feel her exceeding joy as she and Joseph presented their infant Jesus in the temple to be formally inducted into the Jewish faith. And we can almost feel her agonizing and frantic panic when Jesus, at just 12 years of age, went missing for a few days on their way back from a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. And we can even picture her watching him from among the crowds as he started his earthly ministry, and imagine the incredible feeling of awe and wonder she must have had when she witnessed for the first time her son healing someone, or the way he knowledgeably and effectively preached to the crowds. The incredible motherly love that surely swelled in her heart when his eyes would search for her and find her among the crowd around him, perhaps flashing a quick smile or mouthing a gentle, "I love you, Mom." And friends, we can barely imagine the pain in her heart to see him arrested and persecuted, the paralyzing fear that overtook her when he received his death sentence, knowing she would be powerless to do anything but watch and weep and pray as he was crucified. We can only wonder how she could have continued to trust in God through all of this. 33 years after the joyful promise she was given by the Archangel Gabriel at the Annunciation, to see her only child about to lose his life in the most humiliating of ways, reserved only for the worst of criminals. But she did continue to trust God, and she continued to follow her son down the Via Dolorosa as he carried his cross on the way to his crucifixion on Calvary. And just as she stayed by the side of his cradle in the manger, She stayed at the foot of the cross as he cried out in anguish to God the Father. And as Jesus breathed his last breaths, Mary was there as the sword of sorrow pierced her heart. "I will become a little boy and run into a house," said the little bunny. "If you become a little boy and run into a house, I will become your mother and catch you in my arms and hug you." And that's how Mary loved Jesus, the little Lamb of God, who took on flesh and blood and became her little boy. And his beaten, bloodied, and pierced body was taken from the cross and placed into her arms for one last motherly hug before being placed into the tomb. But my friends, we know that Jesus' story did not end there, and Mary's story did not end there either. You see, she followed Christ closely throughout his earthly life, his entire life. We know the countless blessings that Mary received. We know the challenges she overcame. And so the church can confidently define the dogma of her assumption into heaven. Since she followed Jesus Christ at every turn in his earthly life, it only makes perfect logical sense that she would follow his ascension into heaven with her own assumption into the eternal kingdom. And while the church leaves open the question of whether or not she died an earthly death first, I personally feel she would have certainly followed her son in that regard as well. And so Mary, the mother of Jesus, eternally reigns as Queen of Heaven. Having been given to us also as our mother, she shines forth on earth, a sign of certain hope and comfort to the pilgrim people of God. And as Pope Benedict XVI so beautifully stated, by contemplating Mary in heavenly glory, we understand that the earth is not the definitive homeland for us. And if we live with our eyes fixed on the eternal goods, we will one day share in the same glory. And consequently, we must not lose our serenity and peace, even among the thousands of daily difficulties. The luminous sign of Our Lady taken up into heaven shines out even more brightly when sad shadows of suffering and violence seem to loom on the horizon. And so we continually look to Our Lady not only as a perfect example of faith and trust, we look to her as hope, as peace, protection, and life. By asking her intercession and reflecting on her participation in the life of Jesus Christ, we can grow in our own ability and determination in cooperating with God's plan of salvation for us. My sisters and my brothers, as we celebrate this solemnity of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary, let us be grateful to God for the most beautiful gift of our Mother Mary. And may we go forth each day knowing of her eternal love for us, asking for her prayers, and hopeful that in faithfully following Jesus Christ, we will one day be joyously united with her and her Son in the eternal kingdom of heaven. May God be praised.